give us more perspective on how the process worked. Representative Tim Ryan joins us on the phone now, Democrat of Ohio, 17th District. Good morning, Congressman. What is your position on the earmarks?
I think earmarks are a great opportunity for local elected officials who are directly elected by the people of their district. As Paul was kind of articulating earlier, if the local elected official wasn't deciding where some of this money goes, a very, very small percentage of it, I think the New York Times said 0.5 of 1% of the total budget, where this money goes, it would be, distributed by somebody in Washington, D.C. And I think for areas like mine, which has become very popular in the last couple of weeks because of the presidential election, where you have, the old steel industry, the old rubber industry, old coal, where you're trying to turn these communities around and make them economically viable. It's the earmark process, at least in the last 5 years that I've been here, that I've been able to direct investment to do research and development at Youngstown State University, to partner with private companies who are moving into the high-tech field or metrology or, doing something positive in the community to try to turn the economy around. And the federal government money is essential for this.
Well, Congressman, let me ask you, why should taxpayers from other states bear the burden of trying to turn around Youngstown's economy?
Well, because we're the United States of America, and, we're all in this together. And when Youngstown was booming in the 1930s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, I'll give you one example, and this is in regards to who probably will be the Republican nominee. In 1968, there was a thing called the Central Arizona Project. It was a $3.6 billion earmark that diverted the Colorado River for 336 miles to basically make Arizona. And Lyndon Johnson signed this into law in 1968. That money that went there would be like a $20 billion earmark now, but that money that went there was paid by the taxpayers of Youngstown, Ohio, when the steel mills were booming. We gladly did it because we're the United States and we wanted to develop the West. But now, as Paul mentioned, NAFTA, the communities that have been kind of undermined or devastated by NAFTA now need some federal investment to help redevelop, to help get us into biotech, help us get us into the high-tech industry. We need a little federal investment, and if the taxpayers from Arizona, we need their help.
As a member of the Appropriations Committee, how many earmarks have you been able to secure for Youngstown?
I don't know what the exact number is, but, throughout the whole district, it's been a handful. I've only been on the committee for a year, but I can tell you they've been essential for, the Beatitude House or, water lines and sewer lines. A lot of these sewer lines are, 30, 40, 50 years old. I mean, these are old we need them. EPA mandates and whatnot, investments into a defense center of excellence. These are critical for our. I can't even express how critical. And I see callers call in from Texas, like they've never benefited from federal spending. I mean, look at NASA. Look at the investments Johnson probably made when he was in the Senate or when he was vice president or when he was president that basically developed Texas. But now we all benefit from the technology that comes from the universities down there, the technology and advancements that come from NASA. I mean, we're one country here. I don't know why we're trying to pick a water project in Youngstown or a project in Arizona and say that person shouldn't have that in their community. How do we know? How does a person in Texas know what someone in Youngstown, Ohio needs? It's mind-boggling.
But, Congressman, let me ask you the question the other way around, which is, and I don't dispute, the needs of Youngstown, but is there a limit to that? I mean, if Youngstown has those needs, so does Johnstown, so does Des Moines, Iowa, so does, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Doesn't it seem that at some point it becomes unsustainable?
Well, obviously we've got a lot of issues in the country with Medicare and Medicaid and the defense budget, but I think, these are investments that I think in the long term, Paul, they yield us money. I mean, we don't want to be a community that's always relying on the federal government, but if we make direct investments into economic development projects that are unified at the local community level where the state's involved, the local community's involved, the local Youngstown business incubators involved. These are eventually going to take Youngstown off the public burden. I think the key is that these are investments, and that's why I have no problem with the transparency. I have no problem putting my name on this. I'll give you an example in Youngstown. We have one of the top computer software business incubators in the whole state of Ohio, award-winning. Last year, one of these companies in the business incubator called Turning Technologies grew at 3,800%. They were, by Inc. magazine standard, top-growing computer software firm. Now, the federal government gave a grant a couple years ago. We were able to get $2 million to expand this incubator. They're now hiring young people in Youngstown, Ohio, and paying them pretty good money. Not quite auto industry level money, but the average wage in this incubator is $58,000. It's in downtown Youngstown, Ohio. I mean, this is a heck of an opportunity for our community. We couldn't do it without the federal investment. And down the line, all these kids that are going to go there and go to Youngstown State and go work as computer programmers at Turning Technologies aren't going to be out, making $7 an hour. They're going to make 50, 60, 70 grand a year, paying taxes on that money for the city of Youngstown so that we can pull ourselves up. But we just need that little federal investment. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
All right, Representative Tim Ryan, Democrat of Ohio, thank you for sharing your perspective this morning.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
Thanks, Congressman.
We're going to also